William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Welcome everybody! Look at this beautiful crowd of straight people and gay people and transgender people and people all across the gender identity spectrum. Thank you for coming out to show your support for marriage equality in Texas. All right, while we wait for a couple more speakers, I want to get us warmed up with some chants. All right, I learned this from Reverend Matulski. Gosh, I hope they get this right. Okay, ready? Our love can never be defeated. Our love
can never be defeated. Our love can never be defeated. Our love can never be defeated.
Okay, that's awesome, but I don't think they could hear you at the state capitol. So let's do that again. Our love can never be defeated. Our love, add a fist if you want, can never be defeated. Our love can never be defeated. Our love can never be defeated. All right, awesome. And don't you just feel warmer inside now? Okay. We were going to do that in Spanish, but I can't make it fit. Isabel, do you want to try? Because there's a lot of words in that. You want to try it? You got a mic. Brandon, turn her on. Everybody say hi to Isabel.
Hello, people. You can hear me? Okay. Es nuestro amor no puede ser vencido. Okay? I know it's long. Nuestro amor no puede ser vencido. Nuestro amor no puede ser vencido.
That was awesome. I say marriage, you say equality. Marriage.
Equality.
Marriage.
Equality.
I say marriage, you say Texas. Marriage.
Texas.
Marriage.
Texas.
I say marriage, you say now. Marriage.
Now.
Marriage.
Now.
All right, awesome, great group. All right, and yeah, feel free to cheer and clap after everything we do. That's awesome. All right. All right, before we get started, I need to just do a quick check for a couple people I'm missing. Look at this beautiful crowd. Just look at y'all. It's awesome. Thank you for being here. I need to do a selfie. All right, with y'all. You think I'm kidding? All right, here we go. All right, everybody say marriage equality.
Marriage equality.
All right. Mark Quigley, are you here? From Stonewall? You're the second speaker. Daniel Cates. Meg, do you want to take Daniel's place?
Hell yeah.
All right, up here. You're in this speaker 3 position. Or speaker 2, it doesn't matter. Okay, so again, thank you guys all for coming out. We want to thank the Oaklawn Committee, which is the group that owns this monument that we are honored to be standing on. This is holy ground in memory of the people lost to HIV/AIDS. They are also undergoing a capital campaign to provide for the maintenance and ongoing legacy of this place where we are honored to gather. So go to oaklawncommittee.org and give them a few bucks, or a lot of bucks. Thank you, Michael Milliken. So I see a lot of beautiful LGBT people, but I also see a lot of straight identifying people. If you are one of our straight allies, raise your hand and let us cheer for you. Thank you for being here with us and being with us in your day-to-day lives and in your communities and in your churches. That's the reason that we are winning marriage equality across this country. So let me ask you a couple of questions. How many of you have already married in another country, like Canada, right, or somewhere? How many of you are currently married in another state? Awesome. How many of you are waiting for Texas to grant the freedom to marry before you marry the person that you love? And how many of you want to get married someday? What group?
How many don't care and already did it?
Yeah, you were in that first group. Yeah, how many of you are already married in a religious ceremony, whether your state lets you get married or not? All right, awesome.
Wait for permission.
Did not wait for permission. All right. So we know it's cold. We're gonna be respectful of your health, and we are gonna. I'm gonna introduce you to our speakers, and they're gonna raise their hand and wave so that you can see them, and then we're gonna get started with the speeches and get this done. So we have Isabel Marquez from La Catedral de la Esperanza here in Dallas. Mark Quigley, this is your last call. Oh, there you are.
Mark Quigley.
Step up, right there by the rabbi, on the other side of the rabbi. You're the second speaker. Mark Quigley from Stonewall Democrats. In the place of my good friend Daniel Cates is Meg Hargis from QueerBomb. Come on, gloves. We have with us Rabbi Steve Fish of Congregation Beth El Binah. Chad Terry of Log Cabin Dallas. Natalia Hollins, a community member of Dallas. Antonio Santiago, Vice President of LULAC 4871, who just found out he was speaking 15 minutes ago. Joe Swanson, a community organizer with the ACLU. Reverend Mike Wright Chapman, Associate Minister at Cathedral of Hope. Brian Lewin, a community member. Joining us from Galileo Church in Mansfield, Texas, y'all, Mansfield, is Reverend Katie Hayes. So awesome. All right. From the Indigenous Peoples Liberation Party, Cooper Caraway. From the Resource Center local community leader, Raphael McDonald. And reading us the poem Until We Could, which is the poem Richard Blanco was commissioned to write for Freedom to Marry, we have community members Debbie Johnson and Zante Garcia. And Reverend Hood, are you here? All right, I know he's coming. All right, so without further ado, Isabel, you're up.
Primeramente, gracias muchachos a toda la comunidad que habla español por estar aquí, por tomarse el tiempo. Que sepan que sí habemos latinos aquí también apoyando esta propuesta y que estamos también defendiendo un derecho, que somos mujeres y hombres de fe, que estamos apoyando esto y que solamente estamos pidiendo igualdad para todos en nuestro matrimonio. Así que muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Y les voy a pasar a nuestro reverendo, que es el reverendo de nuestra iglesia, la Catedral de la Esperanza, y como iglesia estamos apoyando esto también, así que...
Mi nombre es Alberto Magaña, soy el pastor de la Catedral de la Esperanza de la Congregación Latina, mucho gusto. Y estamos aquí en pie de lucha, todos juntos lo vamos a lograr.
Y otra vez, como decía nuestro lema, nuestro amor no puede ser vencido, ¿vale? Nuestro amor no puede ser vencido. Nuestro amor no puede ser vencido.
Oh, great. Hi, my name is Mark Quigley. I'm with Stonewall Democrats of Dallas. Our president, Jay Neri, unfortunately is traveling, could not be here tonight.
Right into the
Okay, sorry. I'm with Stonewall Democrats. Our leader, Jay Neri, was unable to join us tonight, but we are all absolutely thrilled at the goings-on today. There are too many people to thank. I know I would probably miss so many folks, but I think this is going to be a historic day, week, and month once we get the ruling. As a member of Stonewall Democrats, we not only have been very supportive, obviously, of marriage equality, but we've also, and what we strive for is working on the local level, on the grassroots level, and not only, it's incredibly important for us to be engaged locally, and I think probably the best example of that is the recent Plano non-discrimination policy that was passed in Plano, of all places. We have municipal elections coming up soon, and we will be screening candidates for those offices, and we really encourage you all to join us in that screening process. And please join us at our next meeting. We meet at Ojeda's third Tuesday of every month, and we really, really appreciate your support and your input. Thank you very much.
All right. My name's Meg Hargis. I'm not speaking on behalf of an organization at the moment. I'm just speaking to you as a person of conscience. What I want to say is this. Marriage equality has been a very long time coming, and it's going to get here. There is not a question in my mind, with the changing culture that we live in, and with as many people who have been demanding it, that is going to happen. And it's not going to happen because people in power woke up one day and decided they would be nice enough to give it to us. It's going to happen because we showed up day after day and said, we are not here for a gift from you. We are here to take something that you have been withholding from us, and we're not trying to let you keep it anymore. And with that said, there's not a doubt in my mind that marriage equality will be accomplished. And what I want to encourage you to do is look beyond that to see what else we need to be fighting for in our community. As long as there are queer people in school being bullied to death, we do not have equality. As long as trans kids are being sent to reparative therapy, we do not have equality. As long as people can't bring their partners across international borders, we do not have equality. And I believe in this fight, and it's important to me, but I believe that our community deserves to be living without fear for our entire lives, not just as married adults. Thank you very much.
First of all, I would ask everyone to be silent for a moment for all those who were murdered in Paris over the last few days. Thank you. Now I would like to say to everyone gathered here that Greg Abbott said, when marriage equality comes to Texas, hell will freeze over, and it is freezing over today. In 1859, Charles Darwin wrote The Origin of the Species. Now, I believe not only in physical evolution, but in moral evolution. And as human beings, we will, I believe, morally evolve to a time when all of us realize that God's eternal plan for every person on the face of the earth is to be married to the person that they want to, not the person that government tells us we have to. The Fifth Circuit had a chance today to take one more step toward that moral evolution by allowing all of us to marry the person we love. I pray that I will soon have the legal authority to have two loving individuals standing before me as I say, I now pronounce you husband and husband, or I now pronounce you husband and wife. May it be God's will.
Thank you, Todd, for having me speak tonight. Thank you, Equality Texas, for organizing this event. Thank you all for braving this weather. As the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals hears 3 very important cases, we gather here in Oakland, in Dallas, in Texas, to demonstrate our resolve to accept responsibility for marriage. Responsibility? Yes, that's right. We hear all the time about right, but seldom do we see the couples in the gay and lesbian community stand up and speak to the simple fact that so many get out of bed every morning and take responsibility for their same-sex partner. Without the benefit of a marriage certificate, many of these same couples have spent untold amounts of money to twist themselves together in convoluted legalese. Why? Why would 2 grown consenting adults have to legally adopt each other so as not to be denied hospital access in severe circumstance? Why would a couple wrap themselves up in paperwork like that? It's quite simple. Responsibility. They love each other so much, they have to do these extreme things to be able to take responsibility. Why would a valid marriage license not be recognized from one state to another? The commitment and responsibility that one state in this great union afforded a couple does not evaporate when you cross a state line, does it? No! Of course not. We still wake up every morning knowing we have someone other than ourselves that depend on us. Does that change if we wake up in Texas, California, Connecticut, or Kentucky? No! Not in the slightest. As a Republican and as a conservative, I stand here today in support of all couples in the gay and lesbian community that are ready to stand up and make public their sometimes decade-long commitment to each other. We do not often see enough the couples that have been together making a life for themselves and the people around them for 20, 30, 40 plus years. When I think of marriage, I also think of a friend and mentor in California. He and his partner were able to be married a few years ago after being together since 1970. The remarkable thing about this for me is that living, laughing, and taking care of each other for as long as I've been alive. They are the picture of responsibility. They are the face of same-sex marriage. As a Republican and as a conservative, I stand here today in support of thousands and thousands of gay and lesbian couples that may have a different faith background than myself. As a conservative, I will never oppose one faith's decision to acknowledge a union my faith may or may not. Any faith that chooses to affirm the commitment and the responsibility of a consenting adult couple, I shall not put asunder. We are all here to show respect for our position for this issue. Let us all continue the quest of our rights, as well as always striving to educate those around us that we are ready to take responsibility for those we love. Thank you, and God bless Texas!
What it means to me and my family to be able to marry in this state, it means we can be identified as one family with the same last name. It means we won't have to jump through hoops to get health benefits or ensure we have beneficiary information on everything that we own in order for our children to have something in their lives if anything were to ever happen to myself or my wife. It means that simplicity, just that, and not having to carry around extra documents to prove that either one of us is a parent to our sons. Or something as simple as a name change will not cost an arm or a leg. It's not fair that I have to pay thousands of dollars to change my name so we can match that of my spouse's. It's not fair that I will be denied when I go to change my name on my driver's license or my social security card or even my name on my employee identification at work. It's not fair that even if we have more children that we have to pay money just for only one of us to be on their birth certificate. These basic rights are not guaranteed to either one of us, and it's beyond time for that to change. We are citizens of this country. We are native Texans born and raised. Our ancestors have slaved this state, and our forefathers and our foremothers have bared everything that they have and fought for us to enjoy our freedoms that are our God-given right to have. We demand just that. No longer are we asking for permission. No longer are we asking someone to give us something that is our right to have. When we jumped the broom at our wedding ceremony November 1st, that jump we took together is one we will continue to take. And no piece of paper, no person or law can take that away. In our family, love will win.
All right, well, how do I follow that? That's anyways, well, the Light 4871 is Latino, the first Latino group for gay and lesbians here in the Dallas area. Well, right now, it's an important time for everybody. Not an important time just for Latinos, but an important time for everybody in this community. I wasn't really prepared to speak today, but I'm actually just going to speak from the heart. I personally do want marriage equality here in Texas, not only for myself, but for the people that have been together for 10, 20, 30 years. They deserve that. I'm 36 years old, I do want that, and it is a long time coming in Texas. I can tell you that. I've lived here my whole life. I grew up in West Texas, George Bush country. I know, I'm sorry, but big oil out there, but times are changing. My parents are changing. My family's changing. It's time for Texas to change.
Hey y'all, my name is Joe Swanson, and I'm a community organizer with the ACLU of Texas here in Dallas. Yes. So I grew up in a place that's about an hour east of Dallas, and in that area there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And truth be told, I grew up as a product of my environment as an opponent of the gay rights movement, right? And it's shameful for me to admit. And I have to say that the reason is even though I wasn't making noise, I wasn't vocally hateful, I was silently passive, and that is so much worse. Yes. I was shielded by unchecked conclusions about a group of people I haven't even met, or at least that's what I thought at the time, because on the way back home from school one day, I was with my sister and she was driving me, and she told me, Joe, I'm a lesbian, and I'm scared. And it broke my heart, and it broke that thought. The thought that these people who I don't even know can be denied to be with the person they love. My sister can be denied to be with the person I love. So I became an ally. I became, I became an affirmative Christian. I went to college, and I came home and I joined the ACLU of Texas, right? An organization who for the past 75 years has included lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender people in their movement, in their mission, yes, for civil liberties and civil rights. Why I did all that, my sister left the state. I asked her this Christmas if she would ever come home, and she told me, Joe, why would I ever live in a state where people are telling me that I can't marry the person I love because of who I am? Well, I am very excited because on Monday, I might be able to call my sister and tell her she can come home. Yeah! She can come home to Texas. Yes. And as my friend on my left over here said, there are governors and people in Texas telling us that gays won't get the right to marriage until hell freezes over. And you know what? It looks pretty cold out here to me tonight. You know what I mean? So guess what? If Texas can freeze over, hell can too. God bless Texas.
I am so grateful to be here this night and to be the token straight pastor at the Cathedral of Hope, who is proud to speak out for marriage equality. As a white, middle-class, straight male, I participate in a variety of systems of privilege without even having to ask. Every day I work to live outside those privileged spaces to offer the same love and respect I am afforded in my privilege. If the marriage of Jan and Barb, or Mark and Kent, or Susan and Tom threatens my marriage, I'm the one with the problem. The success of my marriage to Kathy depends on us and our ability to make decisions with and for each other and our willingness to work at it every day. It doesn't depend on what happens in the lives of other people. I don't want anyone but my marriage partner to make decisions about my medical treatment, my estate, my final days on earth, my cremation, or what happens to my ashes. I believe that God blesses our marriage. How can I believe that God doesn't bless all marriages based on equality and respect and love and commitment? All of us, gay and straight, have the same mix of reasons for wanting the freedom to marry. Emotional, economic, personal, practical, social, and spiritual reasons that resonate in love and the law. To be denied the freedom to marry is to be robbed of our common humanity.
All right.
Ending exclusion from marriage is a question of justice, assuring that everyone has the right to be both equal and different, and that no one should have to give up his or her difference to be treated as equal. Ending exclusion from marriage is a question of love, helping secure for all the pursuit of happiness. The worst kind of discrimination, the most intolerable, is discrimination by the government itself against any group of us. Denying the freedom to marry is the state-sponsored discrimination against gay people, and we must end it now.
Good evening. 30 years ago, I married my best friend from college. During our 20-plus years as husband and wife in New Jersey, and this is New Jersey weather, we were partners in every sense of the word. Together we raised 2 sons who are amazing individuals in their own right. We bought houses together, we were co-borrowers on mortgages. She supported me when I went back to school, and when I was sick and had to have surgery, she was my legal advocate. There were no doubts or questions about it. We were recognized as a team with the full rights and privileges of any married couple. After the divorce, we continued to care for each other's well-being. I learned so much from being her husband: acceptance, patience, compromise, just to name a few. And thinking back on it, it astounds me that someone I knew in college could be my family and the most important person in my life. Society recognized it and even expected it. After spending 7 years of trying to figure out my true direction in life, in the summer of 2012, I moved here to Dallas for a new start. In addition to milder winters, a stronger local economy, and southern hospitality, I have discovered a vibrant and passionate LGBTQ community. In a relatively short time, I have met people who I know will be lifelong friends. I have found a church, the Cathedral of Hope, that welcomes anyone who's been shunned just because of who they are. And I am proud to say, I have found my future husband, the person who will be my advocate for the second half of my life. And his name is Mark, and he's standing right here next to me supporting me. Together we, as with you and millions of other LGBTQ people, share in the hopes and dreams of all Americans. Choice. The choice to love the person we are destined to be with, and for that love to be legally recognized. In 2009, I rallied with my LGBTQ brothers and sisters in Trenton, New Jersey for marriage equality. And in 2013, it became a reality. The state did not collapse. There wasn't chaos and mayhem on the streets. Instead, there were commitment ceremonies, there was all kinds of there were marriages, there were just happiness all around. I'm here today once again to rally for equal rights. I hope and pray that the cases being argued in the Fifth Circuit Court in New Orleans are decided in favor of justice and equality. And one more thing, today's my birthday. And the only gift I would like is the choice and the freedom to marry the person that I love here in my home, Texas. Thank you.
Happy birthday to him. I'm Katie, and I drove up here from the burbs with some friends, beloveds, and members of my church. Why? Because we wanted to find Jesus tonight, and we figured he'd be here. It's just a shame that the church has not always understood that the church has looked for Jesus in cathedrals and in places of wealth and privilege, places where there were boundaries drawn and walls put up so that only certain people could be in, and everybody else very carefully and diligently kept out. It's absurd. Jesus is ashamed and embarrassed of that kind of behavior. Ashamed and embarrassed of all the times that people in his name have decided that problems of injustice are really somebody else's problem. We said it from the sidelines during the civil rights movement. Many white churches and white Christians stood back and said that's not our problem. We have said it about equality for women all along. Men in the church have said that's really not our problem. And now churches that think they are all straight are saying this is not our problem. Here's the thing though, I just cannot imagine the Jesus I know ever saying to someone who's been oppressed and left out and mistreated, you know, you're really not my problem. Can you imagine? I cannot imagine. And so we're here tonight, up here freezing with you all, because we want to see Jesus tonight, and we think this is where he is. We're so glad you invited us. Thanks for including us tonight. And also, I just want to say, I am so sick of driving to Oklahoma and flying to California to marry people that
I love. Good evening. My name is Cooper Caraway. I am the National Chairman of the Indigenous Peoples Liberation Party. My mother, she's half Kiowa and half Apache. I was raised with Native American morals and values, and I want to tell you something that a lot of people may not know, that right here where we're standing, practiced marriage equality for thousands of years. LGBT queer people had the same rights as everyone else for thousands and thousands of years, and then Columbus landed.
Oh, shit.
I want to let you know that the position of the Indigenous Peoples Liberation Party is that we have seen different flags fly over this land. We've seen the Mexican flag, the Spanish flag, the Republic of Texas, and the United States flag. But we say that no matter how many different flags are raised over this land, this will always be indigenous land, and we will continue to fight for LGBT equality. When indigenous people have been practicing LGBT equality no matter what this system has put us through. They can murder us, they can relocate us, but when they relocate us and put us on our reservations, we continued to give same-sex marriages. We continue to give full equality in the workplace to LGBT people. We continue to fight for the rights of transgender people that we call two-spirits. It has always been an honor to have trans people in our communities. It is seen as a gift from the Creator to have such a diversity of sexuality in our communities. And we will continue to be on the front lines of this struggle, whether it's the struggle for marriage equality, fighting for LGBT homeless teens, fighting for trans rights, fighting for access to HIV and AIDS medication. No matter what struggle there is, the indigenous people and our party will continue to be on the front lines of that struggle until we are all free. Thank you.
I've got a couple questions for folks here. How many of you attended the rally that we had here about 11 months ago when the ruling first came down? How many of you were here about, say 19 months ago on a really hot June day when we celebrated the Supreme Court victory in the Windsor case? You know, we live in exciting times that are moving so incredibly quickly. Just think, 11 years ago, only one state you could get married. 7 years ago, only 2 states. This week, 36 states, close to the 37th state, and the District of Columbia, and not much longer, it's going to be all 50 states. From the rocky coasts of Maine to the sun-kissed beaches of California and every single place in between. Of course, the question is, when? Nobody seems to know the real answer to that. But I think probably, if I were a betting man, before Independence Day. And that day will be important because we will be able to embrace liberty, justice, and fairness for everyone, regardless of their sexual orientation, being able to be married. I don't know how many folks have had a chance in their busy workday to listen to the arguments from the court in New Orleans. They're actually available online. You can go to the court's website. I would urge you to take about an hour, maybe even 3 hours if you want to listen to all 3 states, and listen to them. The fact of the matter is, times have changed. We are people who are no longer illegal in the eyes of the law. And that is important. Even Judge Higginbotham from here in Dallas, he quoted in the ruling today, and I'm going to read it to you exactly. There has been a change in this area of human rights and equal protection since 1975. Those hateful attitudes, they need to be left back in the era of polyester, bell-bottoms, and disco balls. Harvey Milk taught us that we have to be a hopeful people, and I try to be a hopeful person most of the time. Most of the time I succeed. 11 months ago, at this very spot, maybe 3 or 4 feet to the other side, I mentioned that marriage was fixing to come to Texas. And those words today are as true as when I spoke them then. And when marriage equality arrives, as Meg mentioned, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. From fully inclusive employment non-discrimination, public accommodations, care for our trans sisters and brothers, programs for our youth, programs for our seniors, and so forth and so on. And of course, there's intersectional issues, racism, poverty, class issues. Those are LGBT issues. Immigration, those are LGBT issues. Just because we get marriage equality doesn't mean we can go back and sit back and not do anything ever again. So, advice to you tonight. Have a drink. Have a hot chocolate. Whatever you want to celebrate tonight. Have a good weekend. 8:30 Monday morning. We'll know, quite possibly, what the Supreme Court says. In the meantime, between what the Supreme Court says and when the Supreme Court rules, keep working for all people, whether they're LGBTQ, allies, or just people. And mark and keep watch. And I want to see everybody here when we come back to claim our final victory. Thank you very much.
We're going to read the poem Before We Could by Richard Blanco, because marriage is what brings us together today. I knew it then, in that room where we found for the first time our eyes, and everything, even the din and smoke of the city around us, disappeared, leaving us alone as if we stood the last two in the world left capable of love, or as if two mirrors face to face with no end to the light our eyes could bend into infinity. I knew since I knew you, but we couldn't.
I caught the sunlight, pining through the shears, traveling millions of dark miles, simply to gaze your skin. As I did the first dawn, I studied you sleeping beside me. Yes, I counted your eyelashes, read your dreams like butterflies flinting underneath your eyelids, ready to flutter into the room.
Yes, I praised you like a majestic creature my God forgot to create till that morning of you suddenly tamed in my arms. First for me to see, name you mine. Yes, to the rise and fall of your body breathing, your every exhale, a breath I took. I took it in as my own wanting to keep even the air between us as one. Yes, to all of you. Yes, I knew, but still we couldn't.
I taught you how to dance salsa. By looking into my Caribbean eyes. You learned to speak in my tongue while teaching me how to catch a snowflake in my palms and love the gray clouds of your gray hometown. Our years began collecting in glossy photos time, lining our lives across shelves and walls glancing back at us.
Us embracing in some sunset, more captivated by each other than the sky brushed plum and rose. Us claiming some mountain that didn't matter as much our climbing it together. Us leaning against columns of ruins as ancient as our love was new, or leaning into our dreams at a table, flickering candlelight in our full-mooned eyes. I knew me as much as us, and yet we couldn't.
Though I forgave your brown eyes turning green each time you lied, but kept believing you. Though we learned to say goodbye, to say good morning after long nights of silence in the same bed. Though every door slam taught me to hold on by letting us go. And saying you're right, become as true as saying I'm right. Though there was nothing a long walk couldn't resolve, holding hands and hope under the streetlights, hoisting like a string of pearls, guiding us home.
Or a stroll along the beach with our dog, the sea washed out by our smiles, our laughter roaring louder than the waves, though we understood our love was the same as our parents', though we dared to tell them so and they understood, though we knew we couldn't. No, we could.
When the fiery kicklines and fires were set for us by our founding mothers and fathers at Stonewall, we first spoke of defiance. When we paraded glitter, leather, and rainbows made us human, our word became pride down every city street, saying, just let us be.
All right. All right.
So I didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm Todd. I'm Todd Whitley. I'm board chair of Hope for Peace and Justice here in Dallas, and I staff the Equality Texas office here in Dallas. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to all of you who came out tonight. I truly believe that the spirit of Archbishop Oscar Romero and Harvey Milk and Martin Luther King and Eleanor Roosevelt and Cesar Chavez and so many others who have fought for the rights of all people are here with us tonight. That is why we are here. We are here today for the transgender youth, for the adolescent lesbian, the gay teenager in Alvarado, in Escobaras, in Tolar, and in towns across Texas, to give them courage and to give them hope. We gotta give them hope. And we will take note that after the winter, always, except in Game of Thrones, after the winter, always comes spring, and with it, the promise of new life and new possibilities. And this spring, when we gather in this spot, we will remember being here, and we will remember the chilliness or the coldness, and we will remember the cold noses of the person that we love, or our best friend, or our legally married spouse, and that we were here demanding to be seen, to be heard, demanding our rights. And I tell you, friends, hope does not disappoint, and it will not disappoint us here in Texas. And so on that day when we're back here, hopefully warmer, it may be still winter, it may be spring, it may be summer, we will laugh and we will cheer and we will smile and we will kiss the lips of our lover, our partner, the person that we love, a friend, a legal spouse that we married here in Texas, and we will celebrate and we will dance and we will rally on to the next noble cause for someone else in this community or this state who needs us to fight for them and stand with them. So I now give you Reverend Jeff Hood, who is the Minister of Social Justice for Hope for Peace and Justice, who will deliver a benediction for us.
Thank you. I brought my son, Philip, out here tonight. Philip is 2.5 years old. And I brought him out here against the advice of my wife. But I brought him out here because I want him to live in a world where he can love whoever the hell he wants to love. And get married to whoever the hell he wants to get married to. But I think most of all I brought him out here to show him what love looks like in the flesh. I have a firm belief that God is love. And that when we love each other, God becomes incarnate amongst us and with us. So I know we got some atheists, agnostics, Catholic. We probably got a couple of Baptists at least. Maybe a few closeted Baptists. But I ask that you join me in a moment of prayer and meditation. And I'm going to ask you to give a gift to each other. And I think you'll understand what I'm talking about in a second. Spirit of God, Spirit of light, Spirit of love. We are grateful that you have brought us together this evening. In the coldness, we are thankful that you have given us each other to warm us up, not only physically, but in our spirits as well. I'm going to ask everyone who is gathered to offer a word, one word, that you would like to give to the folks who are gathered here tonight. Mine is love.
Peace. Justice.
Spirit of God, Spirit of light, Spirit of love, you have heard these words. Manifest them in us. May they well up inside of us. And may we be the people who make them reality in Dallas, in Texas, in our nation, and low in our world. God, we know that you are love. So I pray as we end this evening, you will help us all to go make a little love tonight. Amen.
Our love will never be defeated. Our love will never be defeated. Our love will never be defeated. Our love will never be defeated.
All right, thank you everybody for being here.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.